What's going on, everybody? Sitting here in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania at the TA. Stop for the night. I got a delivery in New Jersey tomorrow. I was driving all day today, and I got to thinking about how I ended up in this spot. How did I end up in this truck? In 2020. So we'll go into a little bit of a backstory. I was in the Army for 17 years. I went in the Army at 19 years old, and then I got out at 36. This was 2016 when I got out. After leaving the military, I went directly to truck driving school, Troops Into Transportation, in Fort Benning, Georgia. Finished that program there with Troops Into Transportation, and I got on with what was XPO Truckload out of Joplin, Missouri, is now CFI. I think previously they were CFI, and then they became Conway, and then it was sold to XPO. But I believe there was some issue with the way that it was handled. I think CFI wanted first bid on the contract if Conway ever decided they were going to sell, and I don't think that Conway gave CFI the opportunity, so they had sold to XPO. A lot of trucks and trailers got rebranded to XPO, and then all got rebranded back to CFI. So if you know now, CFI is their truckload division is based out of Joplin, Missouri. So yeah, I ended up on the road with the trainer there out of Joplin, Missouri, with a guy named actually, I don't remember his real name. I remember his handle, Nine Toes. Well, why did they call him Nine Toes? Because he's got 9 toes. Seriously. But yeah, he was a good trainer. I think he had been doing it for, I don't know, 12 or 13 years, something like that. And he taught me a lot about just how to kind of survive on the road, little run-ins that you'll have here and there, and how to get past them. I think I did 7,500 miles with him, and then went back to Joplin and did the upgrade test and got my own truck there. I think that it was a 2016 Freightliner Cascadia. I did OTR with XPO for about 3 months. I wasn't sure how life on the road was really going to be. I mean, this was my first driving job. While I was out with the trainer, had somebody to talk to interact with, conversate, but once I got my own truck, man, it got really lonely. And I was one of those guys that's like, kind of an introvert a little bit. So I see all these guys, man, they don't know each other. They'll just come up and start telling you their entire life story. And I'm like, man, I don't know about this. I don't know if I can be one of those guys that just sits around and just tells everybody what's going on with them and this and that. But what I come to realize is, like, you don't have anybody to talk to. You really don't have anybody to talk to. So, when you get to a truck stop or something and you're sitting there doing your laundry and somebody sparks up a conversation, you just go with it. You just go with it just because you want to have somebody to talk to, have some interaction with a human being. I left XPO late November, I think probably right before Thanksgiving of 2016. And one of the reasons that I did leave is because an old Army buddy of mine, his brother lived in South Carolina, and his brother was trying to start up basically a hotshot company. And the guy that he wanted driving for him initially, for whatever reason, I'm not exactly sure what it was, but he couldn't get his CDL, and I already had mine. And basically what they were doing was just running from South Carolina down into Florida. And they really weren't hitting any way stations along the way until they got to Florida, and so they were getting nervous about getting stopped and having some DOT officer check their paperwork and seeing that his current driver didn't have a CDL. He didn't have a CDL either, but he had the cash flow to start the business. He got the truck, he got the trailer, he secured the contracts, all that, So I said, yeah, I'll take it. You know what I mean? He was offering me $1,000 a week at that point. I'm like, yes, absolutely, I'll do it. So I packed up all my stuff and moved up to South Carolina. I got me an apartment out there, and I started working with him. Um, Initially, we were hauling out of Allendale, South Carolina. That was like the what I call, anytime I tell a story, this is what I call my money maker, because the loads that we had, was paying $1,800 to drive down to Miami. No, I don't know if that's good or bad, but it was doing good for us. The company made $134,000 in the first year, so I did pretty good. But oh yeah, let me tell you what the equipment that we had. We had a 2017 Dodge 5500 chassis cab with a fifth wheel connection, and we had a 40-foot Gator-made gooseneck flatbed trailer. It didn't have ramps for the to drive a car up on or anything like that. It was just a straight flat deck, 40-foot flat deck. And then we had Lord, I got something in my eye. Sorry about that. Must have had a eyelash on my eye or something. Anyway, so yeah, we would haul out of Allendale, South Carolina, all the way down to Miami. We hauled all the way up to Maryland at some point. There was a hurricane that came through Florida at some point during that year, and we got a couple of FEMA loads. I drove from South Carolina out to Chattanooga to take a couple of emergency loads out there, and those paid real well. This was plastic conduit on metal reels that we were hauling down to Florida. Now this company would also pay us for empty reels, so we would take loaded product down to Florida. We get down there and we'd say, hey, you guys got any empties you want to go back? A lot of times they'd say, yeah, we got some over there, we'll load them up for you, whatever, Some guys knew that the metal was worth something, so they're like, yeah, we got some empties, what are you going to give us for it? So we were like, all right. Initially we were like, look, we'll give you $20 a reel, because these were reels that were standing 84, 96, 102 inches tall, and the company that we were hauling for would pay us $1 per inch for those metal reels. We could fit about 8 to 10 full reels on there. On the way down, we could fit probably 12 to 14 empty reels on the way back. And that was really the money maker right there. I could make more money bringing empty reels back than I was making for the whole load going down. So got to the point where we got smart and started dismantling reels, so we could haul back 40 or 50 reels dismantled. We take the sides and lay them down flat, and then put all the crossbars on top of it, strap everything down, and haul all that stuff back. Well, when I didn't have those loads, we were hauling for an electrical company in Columbia, South Carolina, and it was a electric supply warehouse there. And there was initially one company that we were hauling for, and they were only 6 miles around the corner. We were charging them $140 a load. We would haul 3 or 4 loads for them in a day. Yeah, that was about it with my business dealings with my basically my business partner. It became my business partner. Initially, I was just his driver, but I would drive the loaded trailer down, and then he would drive the empty or the the lighter load all the way back. So we could do down to Miami and back in 24 hours. Yeah, around the maybe 9 or 10 month mark, something like that. He stopped going on the loads with me. So I go down, I drop the load in Florida, take a 10 and get on the road and come back. Like I said, in the summer of 2016, I got out of the military, and I had filed some paperwork for VA claims and stuff like that. And it took them right at a year for all that to process. And he calls me up one morning. My business partner called me up one morning. He's like, hey man, I can't do this anymore. I can't deal with the stress of all this, you know, everything that's going on. I have been doing the paperwork for the past 3 months. I had filed if paperwork at the end of one quarter, went through all the way through the next quarter, filed again, and so I had a full quarter worth of paperwork doing invoicing. We had come across our year mark, so IPR, UCR, all that. I had taken care of all that, re-registered and all that stuff. I was paying the truck note. I was paying the insurance. I mean, it was all coming out of the business funds, but he was basically hands off, you know, for the last 3 months of his involvement. So he calls me up one morning and he says, hey man, I can't deal with it anymore. I don't know what's going on with the company, and it's just too much stress on me. You know, he's like, I know you've been handling it. If you want it, if you can give me $50,000, I'll let you have the company. I was like, I don't have $50,000, you know. You know, the company was, you know, it was making some money, but, you know, I mean, I had bills to pay. I had to have money in the bank for, you know, for operating expenses. He was taking most of the profit at that point because that was his company. I was only making the $1,000 a week. So I finished working for the day. I'm getting ready to head home, and for whatever reason, I decided I'd, you know, check my bank account and see what's going on. And large lump sum payment in the bank. The VA had back paid me for a year's worth of VA claim. I called him up and I'm like, hey man, I don't have 50,000, but I have a good amount if you want to try to make a deal or something. So okay, we'll see what we can do. So long story short, we ended up signing some paperwork. I gave him $15,000 up front. We signed a contract with a lawyer, his lawyer. Well, we sit down with the lawyer. I start reading through the paperwork, and the trailer's already paid off. So I told him, I said, look, man, I'm gonna give you this $15,000 up front, but I want the title to that trailer, and I needed to say it in the paperwork there. You know, so he did. He gave me the title to the trailer, and thank God I did, because the company ended up, we had a maintenance breakdown, and I was able to recoup some of the money by selling the trailer. We'll save that for another video. I'll tell you about all the drama that went into it. But me and my wife ended up moving back to Georgia. So then I worked for a small IT company there. That didn't go great because it was a small town, and this company was paying way less than they should be, simply because they knew that if I wanted to make more money, then I would have to drive a lot further to make that money at a more reputable IT company. But you know, so I ended up just kind of falling back on what I knew. I'd done the trucking thing for a while, and I realized I was doing hot shot, but I did have a little bit of semi experience. You know, I didn't have plans on coming back into the trucking industry. I wasn't protecting my license, nothing like that. You know, I ended up getting a couple of speeding tickets that were keeping me from getting on with a lot of companies. You know, but yeah, specifically, you know, like I've said a couple times, Western Express had me out in Nashville for orientation. I went through orientation and then got sent home because of speeding tickets. And then I got on with SRT. SRT's absorbed into Covenant now, and yeah, here we are. So yeah, I just wanted to give a quick backstory, I guess, about how I kind of ended up here. You know, I enjoyed my time when I was doing the flatbed thing, the hot shot, running the business, taking care of everything myself, you know. So I don't know, there may be some plans coming up in the future. We're gonna see. I'm gonna try to talk to my wife and see what's going on, run some things by her and see what she thinks. But yeah, as far as that drama goes with my business partner, we'll make that another video. All right, have a good one.